This video is made possible by North Naperville Autos. If you're looking for a quality used car in the Chicagoland area, North Naperville Autos is here to help. Browse their inventory at northnapervilleautos.com and drive home in a new vehicle today. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1990 Nissan 300zx twin turbo. Up front is a twin turbocharged 3.0 liter V6, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Z32 300zx because it fills a gap in my Z car knowledge. I've filmed 2 Z31s, a couple of Z33s, and a Z34, but I have not filmed a Z32. So I'm excited to finally share the Z32 with you, and I already really like this car. But before we go any further, if you are looking for parts for your Z car, please check out Xenon Z Car. They'll be linked in the description below. They have everything from vintage Zs, Z31, Z32, Z33, and Z34. It is your one-stop shop for everything Z. The owner, Joseph, is absolutely awesome. He's super knowledgeable about the cars, about the Z chassis. So click the link in the description below and visit the best spot for Z parts and Z information online. But let's get back to that 3.0 liter twin turbo V6 under the hood. Well, it is a VG30 DETT engine. Now the previous generation, the Z31, also got a VG30, but for the Z32 starting in 1989, it got dual overhead cams as well as variable valve timing and the twin turbo, where the previous generation Z31 turbo was only a single turbo. Cold tires on the Z32, but this thing goes. It's about 300 horsepower, 283 foot-pounds of torque, which is not bad for the late 80s, early 90s. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission, and as you just saw on that pull, it took a second to shift. I think the automatic transmission is really cracking down on the twin-turbo V6 and not letting it hit its full potential, which is pretty typical for automatic transmissions of the late 80s, early 90s. If I could find one in a stick, I would love to drive a stick shift Z32. However, this one only has 50,000 miles on it, so I wasn't about to pass that up. Last but not least, of course, the 300zx is rear-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 main gauges. On the left is my coolant temperature. Then I have my speedometer with my boost pressure down in the middle of the speedometer. Love that. And I have my tachometer on the right and fuel to the far right. It does have a traditional odometer, which is a little sad to see because Nissan was doing such cool digital gauges in this era. I wish the 300zx got it. The Z31 got it, but I'm unaware of any Z32s that had digital gauges. That's a little bit of a shame. Surrounding the outside of the gauges, on the left, I have my cruise control, defrosters, fog lights, gauge dimmer switch, and headlights, and on the right, I have my climate controls. Yes, the climate controls are actually attached to the gauge cluster itself. And I do have some nice climate controls like fan speed, where to send it, temperature, and my hazard switch is all the way at the top, and my wipers are actually down at the bottom. Again, the wipers are attached to the gauge cluster and not on a stalk, which is kind of interesting. The steering wheel itself has this nice Z emblem in the center. I absolutely love that. And I have some other cruise control options on the steering wheel as well. This makes the steering wheel lopsided or asymmetrical, which I'm not a big fan of. However, I still think it looks good. It's nice and thin and very driver-oriented. Moving on to the door, I have my lock and unlock and my power windows, which are in line with each other instead of being next to each other, which is sort of peculiar. And then down below, I have my latch to get in and out. Moving into the center, I have 2 climate control vents. This looks very S13 to me. And then I have a aftermarket radio because most radios from the 90s got swapped out. But I do have a Bose speaker. So the Z32 in the twin turbo format, which is one of the highest trims you could get, obviously, it came with a Bose audio system from the factory, which is very nice. A couple of other 90s manufacturers had this, like the FD-RX-7 actually had a Bose audio system as well if you got the touring trim. So it's cool to see that here. And then I have a little digital clock that has since stopped working down below. Then I have the shifter itself. Like I said, automatic transmission, which is a little sad to see. Not a big fan of the automatic, but I think the shifter itself looks presentable enough. It's fine. In the twin turbo, I wish I would have gotten like a leather wrapped shift knob or something of that sort, but not the end of the world. Then I have an ashtray and cigarette lighter right by my right hand. Now, unfortunately, the Z32 does not have any cup holders, so it fails the big friggin' bottle test. And then I have my power mirrors and my suspension options. So the Z32 twin turbo actually has two different suspension options you can pick between touring and sport. So sport is going to offer a stiffer ride, and touring is going to be a lot more comfortable, a little bit more body roll, things like that. You do notice a difference. Driving, switching between the modes, I have noticed a difference. However, I'm in touring mode right now, and you can see it's still kind of bouncy, kind of this, that, and the other. Now, this is 30-year-old suspension that hasn't been changed out, 50,000 miles. I'll let you be the judge, but as of right now, the vehicle I'm currently driving, I'm not really impressed by the suspension feel, even in its softest setting. Then I get a center console with a nice comfortable armrest on it, and then we have to talk about the seats. The seats are also comfortable. They're finished in this late 80s, early 90s fabric from Nissan. The Skylines have a similar feel, and I absolutely love them. I think it's very comfortable, and the fabric is found throughout the rest of the interior. The glove box is the same material, the lower door cards are the same material, and it all feels very, what's the word I'm looking for? Thorough, I guess? It's well thought out, and I really like that. And that, before we talk about the hatch, that's the biggest thing. I stepped into this thing. It's so comfortable to sit in here. The ride quality is here there, but the actual interior feels nice, plush. It's getting cold here in Chicago, and the interior just feels warm and inviting. And on a day like today, that's all I can ask for. But we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. Let's talk about the hatch since we don't have any back seats. All right, so around the back of the Z32, and something I wanted to point out was the fact that you could get a 2+2 backseat Z32. However, this roof line was actually longer. It was actually a longer car to accommodate the back seats. So I did want to point that out. You could get a Z32 with back seats if you really wanted to, but I think the two-seater is better. Popped it from inside, and here is the back of the Z32. I mean, this could be a bathtub, even for me, which is insane. Tons of space back here. You do get a spare tire down there. Nothing really too crazy. However, like I said, tons of space. You have this nice tray right here. I absolutely love that. Just beautiful. I mean, just tons and tons of space. I really, really like that fact of the Z32. I think 90s cars did a really good job with the hatches having tons of space, and the Z32 is no exception to that rule. Love that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and before we do a walk around, let's talk about the T-tops. Z32, most of them have T-tops. You could also find this in a convertible, which I think is hideous. But the T-tops are a really nice late 80s, early 90s feature. You don't really see these anymore, unfortunately. And they're kind of fun, and you can lock them and just pray that they don't leak after 30 years. But now let's do a walk around of the Z32. I think it looks really, really nice. I think it looks smooth. I think it looks elegant. I think it's just a very attractive car to me. And maybe part of that is because these have eluded me for so long that I sort of lust after them now. But I just think they're a fantastic looking car. And while I have not reviewed a Lamborghini Diablo, these are the same exact headlights as a Lamborghini Diablo. I'm sure if you've ever even been on the internet, you know that by now, but it's just something fun to point out. Part for part, same exact headlights as a Lamborghini Diablo. But now let's get to my final thoughts here on the Z32 300zx twin turbo from Nissan. Well, I love this car. I really, really do. I drive a lot of cars throughout the year, and it's rare that I actually really want to take one home. Love it so much that I will let it occupy the very small space I have at home. But this is one of those cars. The VG can be complicated to work on because look at it, it's stuffed in there. There's not a whole lot of extra space to work on. And they're hard to find not only in the twin turbo, but 300ZXs are getting rarer and rarer and going up and up in price. Whether that's because of their rarity, the age, whatever it is, these are not easy to come by. But besides that, getting in here and driving is such a pleasurable experience. I am so comfortable in here. The twin turbo, it's enough power to have fun and go around town. Does it hold up to modern cars? Here and there, but that's not really my concern. This is a cruiser car. This doesn't feel as much like a tuner as it does a cruiser. I could take a very long trip in this car and I think I'd be very, very comfortable. I love this interior. I cannot stop talking about this interior. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. It's comfortable, it's enough, and honestly, I don't think I could want anything more out of a 90s car, at least in terms of interior. And so, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, first of all, thank you. But second of all, you have had the opportunity to watch me slowly fall in love with this era of Nissans. It started last year with the 200zx that I drove from Xenon Z Car out in Pennsylvania. Man, I love that car. And now, just recently, I drove an R33 Skyline. I loved that car. And now, I love the Z32. I really, really do. This is a fantastic car. And honestly, it's going to be one of the hardest things to edit this video and know that I can't drive this whenever I want to. That this isn't going to be down in my garage. That's something that I'm going to have to live with. And it might be harder than you think. This car is so good. It has beaten my expectations, really, truly, even with the automatic. Now I'm dying to drive a manual twin turbo Z32. I mean, that has to be pure nirvana in the most purest sense of the word. Man, if you have one of these or have owned one of these, I envy you. I truly, truly do. And that was all made possible by North Naperville Autos. They are absolutely awesome. I've been working with them for some time now. They have really cool inventory. This is one of their used vehicles you could purchase right now, Z32 twin turbo. Can't imagine you'd want anything else. But if you do, they have plenty of options and they are absolutely awesome. They offer financing, they're Carfax certified, and they will find new wheels for you as soon as possible. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.